Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Replay Megaman X4. In the last part we started off the game as 0, and now we're going to go into Frost Walrus' stage. As I mentioned in the last part, part 1 of the 0 playthrough, or part 6 in total really, was the only part where I'm going to be Black 0. From here on, we are Normal 0. As evident by our ever so lovable red almost said red cutscene, color scheme. And what I just did there was the Ryu engine we got from Magma Dragoon, and if you use it right here, you get the heart tank. I briefly touched upon it at the end of last part, but the way that Zero's abilities work that he gets from the Mavericks is that they all involve using the triangle button in some way. Well, not all of them, but like 80% of them do. It's generally pressing the triangle button along with some other directional input, like pressing up in triangle is what gives us the Ryu engine. Other ones will be like down, dashing. It's actually surprisingly Street Fighter-like in some ways, actually. They would somewhat continue this in the Mega Man Zero series, but to a different way because of the limited buttons. Though at the same time, I find the Zero series so much better than X4, it's not even funny. Anyway, I just completely glossed over the first, like, half of Frost Walrus' stage. Well, first half of the first half, at least. Have I mentioned how much I hate this section right here? I hate that I actually have to wait for the platforms to destroy themselves. I'm not usually a guy who likes to complain about waiting in games, but in a game where I can run around hog wild like this, it's kind of complaint. By the way, hi again, Chill Penguin. The mini-boss of this stage, this time around, is much easier considering Ryu Engine does a lot of damage to him really quickly. Mostly because Ryu Engine doesn't just hit once. It hits as many frames as it can. You can't abuse that against every boss, or not, well, none of the Mavericks actually. But against enemies that is very easy to abuse. In fact, a lot of Zero's Saber Slashes have multiple hit frames on them. So yeah, time for the second half if you haven't noticed. This half of the stage is actually even easier with Zero because the ice can now be broken much more quickly. It took 3 shots as X, but this time it only takes like 1, maybe 2 slashes. And Ryu Engine makes it even easier because you can destroy so many of the ice blocks so quickly. And there's our weapons tank in there. Destroy the block and it's yours. Like in X's playthrough, it fills with spare weapon energy. However, with Zero, it's kinda useless because only one of his abilities actually has ammo. And that's gonna be the last one I get anyway, so yeah. So anyway, I know I've mentioned it a couple times in the past couple parts, but Pokemon Alpha Sapphire came out about 5 days ago now? And I just beat it yesterday, and well, I'll admit, they've somehow managed to make me like Gen 3. Though, screw catching that Deoxys, that took me 3 hours. Well, actually more like 4 tries, but then again, that's 4 tries where I have to capture Rayquaza, fight Zinnia, and then go to the Deoxys cutscene each. So that probably did take around 2 hours, actually. My estimation wasn't that far off. Anyway, time for Frost Walrus. By the way, the PlayStation Next games are actually what introduced the warning sign. What's that blonde kid up to? I don't have time for you, Junior. Hey, shut up and fight already. Oh, that does it. You're going down. If you guys haven't picked up on it by this point, my Frost Walrus is actually Big the Cat. Who is in effect, more accurately, who is actually Duke Nukem. And that's one weird fact, Big the Cat in Sonic Adventure 1 is voiced by the same guy as Duke Nukem. Anyway, Frost Walrus is the exact same as he was in X's playthrough, except you have to be a bit more reckless this time. Mind you, even as X, you have to be really close to hit him with his weakness. But at the same time, he'll still slide around, which can catch you off guard if you're not paying attention. And this attack, if you're not standing in the right place, will really hurt. but he's still pathetically easy. I think I mentioned it in the X playthrough, but Frost Walrus is actually a really good first to Maverick if you don't know what you're doing. Oh, that's another thing. Well, first off, I might as well explain the power we get from Frost Walrus. For beating him, we get Hyoretsu-zan. I think I pronounced that correctly. Pretty much when you're jumping and you press down and triangle, you will do a dive attack with an ice blade that will damage enemies. And it's time for Jet Stingray's stage. Yay, I don't like this place. Or at least not as Zero, because the boss is much harder this time around. One thing I don't think I've actually mentioned at this point is that the intro stage theme is one of the only songs that's actually different for Zero. The only other one that I can recall for a fact that's different as Zero is his stage clear theme. Other than that, exclusives that we'll see obviously are like cutscenes. Especially one very infamous one later down in the playthrough. You know what's really funny? Technically speaking, this isn't the first time Zero's been on a ride bike, even before X4, Extreme 2 rather. If you're counting canon, the first time he was on a ride bike is actually in Deus Sigma and Maverick Hunter X, and his hair was going wild in that OVA. Holy hell. I should learn how to record a PSP so I can do the Mega Man PSP games. And Final Fantasy IV PSP. Anyway, not really much to talk about Jet Stingray's stage. It's the exact same place. The hard tank, which I got in the first half, is still there. The sub-tank that's in this half of the stage is still there. There's nothing really different here. Though, for some reason, I should mention this, the background makes me think of Oil Ocean Zone from Sonic 2, and I don't know why. One thing that's probably very obvious at this point, well, first off, I had no idea I could do that. If you get caught by an edge and you get dragged off screen, that is a death. And I'm surprised I made it through doing that section there, both playthroughs without dying. And that's Hyoretsu-zan. Anyway, time for Jet Stingray. He's still after me. Enough already. We settle this now. Jet Stingray is a hell of a lot harder with Zero. Why? Because X's weakness for him freezes him on contact. So is this one. However, we have to be in range for this one. And it's a lot closer for range. If he does that little dive thing there, he's easy to hit. I'll give him that. But it's when he's on the walls doing his other attacks that he starts to get annoying. Like this. He shoots out these little four guys. He can destroy them easily, don't get me wrong. But they will do a lot of damage to you. When he's on the right wall doing it like this, you can actually wall jump behind him and hit him with the Hyoretsu-zan. But if he's on the left, you're out of luck there. Also, that's one weird thing I don't think I mentioned at this point. When X and Zero are low in HP in this game, or at least when they hit the yellow in their HP, they actually have dialogues. I think, Zero says it's not over yet, but X says something I can't remember. Anyway, I cut past most of the second attempt at this fight because he took like 4 minutes. When he's lower in HP, his stingrays get faster, and he'll also start to do this attack where he sucks you towards him for touch damage. I think he also has a projectile with that, but I don't quite recall. Because, honestly, while he's harder as Zero, he's still not the hardest Maverick in the series. That is... Who is the hardest Maverick? Boomer Kawanger's pretty tough if you don't have his weakness. That's food for thought, I suppose. Anyway, for beating him, we get... not a weapon, actually. We get Hyankyaku. This is an air dash. Nothing else. It's just an air dash. That kind of puts us in a predicament, because the next boss, who's weak against his weakness in X's playthrough, that means we don't have a weapon to use against him. We're just going to have to fight him with our Z-Saber, but Slash Beast... well, you'll see. He's not terribly hard. If I recall correctly, wasn't Slash Beast in some sort of weird Mega Man Sonic crossover Flash game? That had... and Sonic, for some reason, had Cloud's sword? I think that's actually a thing. I don't know. This is actually one of the more handy stages to have the air dash for, so I guess in some ways it makes the stage easier, but the stage was never that hard to begin with. I do find it kind of funny that that Repliforce thinks were so dangerous that they can just get rid of some of their supplies. Don't you think Slash Beast would kind of tear their heads off for that? But then again, maybe when he's fighting us aside, Slash Beast is a kind soul. Like Ark from Terranigma. Finally started playing that, by the way. It's really good. And thankfully the story is so much better than Illusion of Gaia. Holy... And it's here that we get the mini-boss once again. How ya doing, buddy? This mini-boss is a lot easier as Zero, because if you have Rio Engine, well... just look at how fast his HP is going down. Yeah. Any challenge that you had with this thing as X is pretty much non-existent with Zero. I think you actually take him out faster with the Rio Engine than you would have with the Nova Strike if you were using Ultimate Armor X. Anyway, second half of the stage is the exact same, honestly. Although, well, one thing that happened during this playthrough of it that I've never seen happen before is that these guys were a lot more aggressive than they usually are. For some reason, the right armor soldiers decided to, dash after me with a vengeance. Apparently they weren't too fond of, X destroying them in the alternate timeline. Actually, there's a question, but out of the two storylines, which is the canon one? Because I'm thinking about it, they mentioned certain things from both storylines in the later games, like something from the end of this storyline, but they also mentioned something from the end of X's, so I'm not sure which one would be considered canon. Maybe they took the X6 approach and made certain parts of both ones just canon for the hell of it. Also, Heart Tank, we just got it. It's always there, no matter what. Mind you, going back to X6 for a second, that game has the worst story in the series. Then again, it's also, in my opinion, the second worst in the series. X7 still worse, only on the fact that it's absolutely boring. Though it does have some pretty cool voice actors in it. They do a terrible job of it, but they have some good ones. I mean, you can't do wrong with the guy who voiced Barry Burton from the original Resident Evil. Or the guy who voiced Alucard in Symphony of the Night. Anyway, we're Slash Beast now, and since we don't have a weakness, time for a bit of an interesting fight. You dared to attack my units. I'm going to enjoy fighting you. Slash Beast, since we don't have his weakness, can now do many more attacks. More so, he likes to do that kickflip there, which sends two little twin slashes out at you. He also likes to do this jump attack, where he jumps above you, then slams down. He loves to abuse this in the fight against Zero for some reason. He doesn't really do that charge attack he did back in the X playthrough nearly as much. Honestly, if I were to say which one's easier, I'd actually say this one's easier, because the Z-Saber does a really good job of taking him down, as you can plainly see. So, yeah, it's definitely a boss. It's actually, I'll admit, it's actually a really fun one. If you're gonna play X4, play a Zero for this fight specifically, because it's really fun. Mind you, not that you have a choice past the character select screen. An X5 and 6 you do, but not this. Eh. Anyway, for beating Slash Beast, we get Shipuga. This is a dash slash. I'll show it off next part, because I actually kind of forget how it works, but I'll explain it then, I suppose. All I know is that it's really, really powerful, and I love abusing it in the Zero series, or at least its equivalent in Zero. I've got a message from Repliforce. Zero, I'll be at the Memorial Hall. Be there. Don't go, Zero. Don't fight him. This is a matter of personal pride now. There's no avoiding this. I must go.
Colonel! What? I'm disappointed in you, Colonel. Ah! What is it you're doing? It's not too late. Stop the coup now. Never. If that's your decision, prepare yourself!
Stop, please! Brother, please! Don't you remember? Zero saved my life.
Oh. Very well then. I'll spare your life for now. But next time, there'll be no mercy.
Zero, please, don't fight with my brother. If you do, I'm afraid that one of you may end up...
Someone must stop Repliforce.
Zero!
Oh, God, Iris's voice actress. But, yeah, that's actually really cool. Zero doesn't fight Colonel the first time, he just gets an anime cutscene. I actually really like that. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in Part 8, we're heading after Web Spider. See you guys then.